The sad reality is that our cities are polluted with expected and, well, boring designs that are overly efficient and barely worth our attention. Yet, as designers, it's our job to work with the client to create projects that push the limits of what people are accustomed to seeing. But that makes one wonder, should designers make controversial projects regardless of the criticism? Hello creative people, and welcome to Sbjctv Design, the channel where we discuss the pros and cons of design concepts with the goal that designers like ourselves use these concepts in our future projects. My name is Alice, and today we will be talking about sensationalism. This is the first of two concepts that look at how suddenly people come to recognize a design. Before we get started though, let me know what you think of the changes I made to the background, also known as my living room. Ha ha ha. Sensationalism is defined as the use of shocking or exciting subjects, language, or styles to intrigue the public. And while this strategy is more commonly used in journalism to make stories appear more interesting, we also know this as sexualized ads or clickbait content that end up being associated with fake news and understandably make people describe sensationalism as an unethical tactic. In design, this topic comes up in expressive or provocative projects or radical programs and project goals that might result in public outrage or distrust. A key takeaway that you should understand from this concept though is that sensationalism doesn't necessarily mean that the projects are neither good nor bad. It just describes designs that were intentionally designed to cause controversy. And it's not surprising that what is considered unusual is what gets attention. After all, design schools, the media, and even other professionals value novel designs, beautiful graphics, and unrealistic but immersive renderings. Still, this comes at a literal and figurative price that affects who gets hired as a designer, what expectations people develop from the design documents, and how the public receives the project once it's built. Since architects are often the ones being hired to develop these future projects, local firms miss out on the economic opportunity, which can be because clients assume that architects are better, but also because they see that the firm's brand can help the image of the project and attract more investors. But arguably the main issue with sensationalism comes from unrealistic expectations set by renderings that show the design without any real constraints. And so to meet that fantasy, the project ends up costing and taking a lot longer to build. Renderings have also trained professionals and the public to expect a challenging idea of perfection in the quality and performance of the building that is simply impossible to achieve. Another problem with these projects is the pushback from stakeholders that comes from a lack of familiarity. For example, this can happen when the idea of a modern school or library is challenged and people understandably question its effectiveness. But while these concerns do happen, we should also consider how sensationalism can be beneficial to people. For instance, imagine that you want to open a new cafe in the neighborhood that you grew up in. Even though you cherish your memories there, the customers don't care because the area doesn't offer enough attractions to make it worth the trip. And while there are also plans to redevelop the community, the funding for public places is low and the image of the area is already tainted. On top of that, you would like to prevent gentrification and instead develop a community where its members and visitors feel proud to be in and are more willing to invest money and resources into. Just so it's clear though, the point that I'm making with this story is not that investing in a sensationalistic project will result in economic growth for the cafe owner, but that investing will be a key element in the revitalization of the neighborhood. This is a phenomenon known as the �奧𝗶𝗍 effect, for which people accredit Gary's Guggenheim Museum to the economic improvement of the city. What's interesting is that the idea that a single building can be the catalyst of economic change has been disproven by several people. After all, the success of �奧𝗶𝗍 is accredited to a network of strategies, such as mixed development and a tramline that, together with the celebratory building, changed the reputation of the city. The impact of provocative structures is also demonstrated by their ability to express culture and the intent of the design. In other words, a hyper-efficient box will not tell you what the associated communities are like or what they aspire to be, as much as an unrecognizable oddity. And if a public work doesn't demonstrate the ambition of its citizens, it's like saying that the designers don't recognize the contributions and aspirations of the public. And with how our society is developing, we kind of forget to consider how these types of spaces make for more Instagrammable photos that, when taken by the right influencers, can achieve unprecedented levels of popularity. While this can be a blessing and a curse for places that are not prepared for the massive influx of people, the power of social media to make a project worth people's time is essential if attracting visitors is your goal. So to answer the question of whether we should make controversial designs regardless of the criticism, I'll answer this with the first thing I said in the video. The sad reality is that our cities are polluted with expected and, well, boring designs that are overly efficient and barely worth our attention. But it's not about designing something provocative just for the sake of it. It's about using these projects as key elements in redevelopment plans, improving citizen pride and user satisfaction, and hoping but not expecting that these projects will indirectly result in economic growth. Having said that, I'm more interested in reading about what you think of these types of designs, so make sure you leave a comment before you go. Bye. Thanks for watching another episode of Sbjctv Design. If design runs in your veins, don't forget to subscribe for more discussions. You can also follow me on Instagram for updates and related content. The music was produced by my friend 𝗂𝗂𝗍𝗂𝗍. You can visit him on Instagram to listen to more of his music.